In August 1st, 1949, after the failed fascist coup of the Fourth French Republic, the French government demanded that the Imperial German Army sent forces to deal with the currently on the backtracking fascist French forces, led by a Nazi collaborator and armed with multiple weapons, part of the German armed forces. Due to this, the German army was forced to send in special operatives such as Panzer Grenadiers and the Brandenburgers. The Brandenburgers were known heavily for their very much well-trained ability in combat. And with this combat expertise, they would fight against the forces of the fascist French. The fascist French forces were reported to have been retreating in the imperial territories of the Netherlands. Due to this information, the Imperial German Army was sent to deal with these forces in Operation Netherlands Security. This battle would make sure to put the fascist French armies out of commission, for if they were allowed to operate, it would cause intense confliction with the French Republic and the German nation. For already too long now, the German nation had been humiliated after the Second World War, and they were now trying to make amends. So it was now their duty to make sure that this was possible. The first confirmation of attack was noted on the 2nd of August at 11 a.m. where German forces fought against elite infantry of the fascist French forces in the form of the SS or ex-SS loyal members. The fighting would continue on for several hours and even into several days. Due to the large amount of control that the fascist French forces had over the Benelux, due to ex-Nazi collaborators and their influence in the region. Due to such holdouts, the German army was forced to deploy self-propelled guns, as in the form of the Vespa. These would make sure to efficiently wipe out defenses that were prepared by the fascist French government. However, the German army still had multiple problems. The German army was reported to have several issues engaging due to the natural formations and the Rhine River, where multiple of their own local garrisons in the region had been conformed to the fascist French beliefs. This was the first account of the Imperium Civil War. The Imperial Civil War, while not being one overall battle or war, was a collective and series of conflicts between the imperial territories of Germania and Italy. These would be the first of these conflicts, considering that the fascist French coup had been supplanted by the German government. And now it was up to the German government to fix the mistake that they had made. The fascist French government was reported to put up quite the offense, harming much of the German armed forces that were sent to deal with them. However, much of this offensive capability would fail upon the arrival of heavy tank support, as in the formation of the German new main battle tank, the Panther. The Panther would secure victory over the first battle, effectively destroying the much weaker army of the ex-Vichy French government, being able to outmatch most of the outdated equipment garnered by the fascist French government. However, even this being said, the Imperial German Army still had multiple issues regarding its military might. The battle would rage on for several more hours to come, and right now we are seeing the effects of the battle. After the first battle in Operation Netherlands Security, smoke was deployed to completely conceal the fascist French forces' positions. The fascist French forces had employed the use of self-propelled weaponry. Due to this, the German army responded in kind with the use of Panzerwerfers, half-tracks armed with Nebelwerfer rockets that were up to 150mm in caliber, or 15 centimeters. These rockets were a devastating force to be messed with, and with the armor, were a lot less susceptible to counter barrage. This is recorded footage of the use of the Panzerwerfer. As you can see, the effects were devastating to the local agriculture and also the local environment. However, the rockets themselves failed to take out the main priority, at least in the first couple of hours. For the fascist French artillery guns were still allowed to operate, and even started presenting counter barrage. However, due to the implement of the German-made battle tank, the Panther, the armor of the fascist French government had been delayed, majorly delayed. However, even the German forces themselves have been delayed for an assault and were well behind schedule. This is when the 1st Regiment of the Panzergrenadiers of Großdeutschland was sent to operate behind enemy lines. Their main priority, to eliminate the last major position along this French battle line. This battle would also prove that the implement of all the battle tanks of the German army were proven to be outdated. This was noted when a Stug and a Panzer IV were railed and even disabled for temporary amount of time, being stuck in a ditch. However, the Panther V was completely intact. A squad of the 1st Regiment of Großdeutschland Panzergrenadiers, however, who were on the main offensive, were running out of ammo. And this required that supply lines were to be established for a long attritional insurgent war. The Operation Netherlands Security was commanded by a German commander by the name of Leon Schmuckler. Leon Schmuckler was well known for his cooperation during the government of Nazi Germany and being a lesser staff member of Hitler. However, in his multiple reports, he's always denied his participation of war crimes. What was heard in the background was the first Volkswagen made for racing competitions. But we all know that the Germans started another war, a war of the races, starting the Volkswagen Racing Car Company. This would be another pride and joy of the imperial territories of Germania. And this would also go into later production. Back on the front of Operation Netherlands Security, the fascist French forces reduced the military operations to human waves, going down a canyon of death where many ex-SS divisionaries and legionaries were slaughtered. notable Panther in the first battle of the Operation Netherlands Security was Panther 022. This was the first Panther to make it past the river without being tracked. For now, the front was quiet, other than the shells of 2 B-1 tanks constantly barraging Panther Tank 0373. The noise in the background was a recording of the Dog of Netherlands, a personal pet of the fascist French government, and also known to be an advisor. It is often recorded during the Battle of the Netherlands of Operation Netherlands Security. But the dog was barking orders at the forces of fascist France. What you heard in the background was the last speech, or one of the notable speeches of the dog. Due to the stalemate that had been ensuing on the front, the Imperial German Army started using the use of tracked mines. The priority of these tracked mines was to provide a breakthrough point for the German armed forces. It is also around this time that it was noted that the fascist French army had reportedly started using multiple captured German vehicles. And a notable event was that one of these tracked mines blew up 4 tanks of the Vichy French government. This provided a major breakthrough point for the Imperial German Armed Forces, allowing them priority to make a breakthrough over the mountains. This would also give them time to repair the broken vehicles that had been damaged during the first offensive, and also repair Panther 373, which had been heavily harmed during the charge of the B-1 BISs, and also a singular Panther tank that was captured by Vichy French forces. Panther 022 would be the major leader in what would be the charge of the Brandenburg Armed Forces. The Brandenburg Squad, led by squad leader Dirk Zumwald, would lead the assault into the canyon. This is also when notable old technology of the French forces had been brought out, since due to a large and unknown reason, the French government thought that it was still a plausible idea to produce outdated tech such as the Char 2C heavy tank from the First World War. Due to a miscommunication error in the German armed forces, the Brandenburg strike team had been heavily hit and struck by Panzerwerfer rockets during a barrage. This led to the death of Dirk Zumwald, only leaving 2 survivors, Meinhard Grossmann and Rien Scher. Meinhard Grossman would notably try to kill a light tank of the Vichy French government, the T-40, a captured Soviet tank. However, this would ultimately fail as Meinhard Grossman proceeded to get shot to death by its Dishka main weapon. However, Rienscher would avenge his fallen comrade with the anti-tank grenade to the T-40, ultimately destroying it. Panther 022 had engaged in contact with the Cha-2C heavy tank, and due to the Cha-2C heavy tank's major build, it would be able to take rounds from the Panther only because the Panther's shells over-penetrated it, and Panther 022 did not have a good line sight on its engine. Panther 022 was mostly regarded for its incompetence, as its charge too early led to the destruction of its tracks, making it immobile during the rest of the battle. However, the Sturmgeschütz that was previously tracked had recovered, able to get a good shot on the Cha-2C's engine, ultimately returning it to rubble, how it belonged. And the Panther IV Offs G 674 had been repaired back to its standard build, so it could also now operate to fight for the fatherland. However, immediately upon its repair, it lost its main gun to a Cha B1. This immediate loss of gun was notably a slap on the face for the German armed forces. There is also an unfortunate account where the German Stug 725 ran over one of its Panzer Grenadiers. This would lead to the court-martialing of the Stug crew. That is, if they didn't die. Due to the stalemate presented by the increasing amount of French tanks, the Germans employed the use of the Fallschirmjäger. The last remaining Brandenburger of the Brandenburg Strike Force was Rienscher. Rienscher took it upon his mission to complete what the group didn't. He attempted to do this by defeating the B1. However, his attempts were in vain, his only major victory being that he tracked it. The rest of this task would be finished by the 1st Fallschirmjäger Squad. The Fallschirmjägers were also notable for the defeat of the French artillery guns. The rapid deployment and effective use of the Fallschirmjägers led to a total victory of the first battle in the Netherlands region. Only one casualty of the Fallschirmjäger the squad was happened, and this casualty was due to a French tank exploding. The leader of this Fallschirmjäger strike team was a German Fallschirmjäger named Marcus Schroeder, who raised the flag upon the debris of the Vichy French tank's armed forces. This victory was relatively minor, but ultimately led to the death of over 300 Vichy French forces and only 45 of the German armed forces. The Germans would, of course, as usual, they would over-exaggerate the reports and often remark that the battle was a complete domination over in only several hours. Of course, this was not true, as it lasted at least a day. This battle did prove that the German army needed some more reconfiguring after its post-World War II status. However, in the end, the German armed forces were able to establish victory.